All right, so you wanted to learn more about the wise men and how they connect to how we celebrate Jesus today, right?
Wow.
We dove into this piece by Apostle John Moore
Okay.
called Wise Men Still Celebrate Jesus. It's a
Yeah.
sermon,
Yeah,
and it really gets you thinking about like how people still celebrate Jesus today.
absolutely.
So let's see how he does that.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Let's start with the wise men themselves,
Okay.
the Magi. For anyone who needs a refresher, these guys weren't just some random dudes who stumbled upon baby Jesus, right?
Right.
They were scholars. Super wealthy, traveled from the east following a star.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the kicker. They weren't even Jewish?
Exactly. They were Gentiles,
Right.
meaning they came from a completely different culture and religion.
Okay.
And that's important right off the bat because it shows us that Jesus' message was meant for everyone.
So it wasn't just for one specific group.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's really interesting. I never really thought about that. And talk about a commitment. Moore talks about their journey being perilous.
Right.
It wasn't to stroll through the park.
No.
Right, we're talking deserts, bandits, maybe even political unrest.
Uh-huh.
Can you paint a picture of what that kind of journey would have been like back then?
Oh, man. Imagine traveling for months, maybe even years, across vast, unforgiving landscapes.
Oh, wow.
You're carrying all your wealth, which makes you a target for bandits. And then on top of that, you've got rumors of political turmoil, shifting alliances.
Right.
It could make any route dangerous.
Yeah.
It was a journey that really required immense faith and courage.
Wow, okay, that puts their dedication into a whole new perspective.
It really does.
It really makes you wonder, like, what drove them?
Yeah.
And that leads us perfectly into Moore's first lesson.
Okay.
Wise men seek Jesus. But he's not just talking about physically seeking him.
Right.
He's talking about a deeper kind of seeking.
Absolutely. Think about it this way. We're always seeking something,
Right.
whether it's knowledge, purpose, or even self-improvement. You know,
Yeah.
that drive to find meaning. It's like a fundamental part of being a human. And what Moore's suggesting is that seeking Jesus is ultimately about seeking those deeper truths.
I see that connection. Yeah. It's like the Magi's journey is a metaphor for our own search for wisdom and truth.
Exactly.
Then there are the gifts,
Oh, yes, the gifts.
which weren't just random presents, right?
No, not at all. Each gift was loaded with meaning.
Okay, let's break it down.
Let's do it.
Gold. What did that symbolize?
The gold symbolized Jesus's kingship.
Okay, but what does kingship even mean?
Well, it's not just about power, right? It's about authority, leadership.
Uh-huh.
And in this context, maybe even divine, right? It's
Right.
a pretty loaded symbol.
So gold equals kingship.
Kingship,
Got it.
frankincense.
Frankincense.
It's represented as divinity, right?
Exactly. Frankincense was burned in temples
Okay.
as an offering to the gods.
Right.
So it speaks to the divine nature of Jesus, acknowledging him as something more than just a human king.
All right. So frankincense, divinity.
Divinity.
Got it. And then there's myrrh.
Ah, yes, more. This is where it gets interesting. This is where it gets really interesting. Myrrh was used for burial. It's almost like a foreshadowing of Jesus's death.
Right.
Do you think that the Magi were aware of what was to come?
That's a great question. Some scholars believe that the myrrh wasn't necessarily about foreshadowing,
Okay.
but rather a symbol of Jesus's humanity, his mortality.
Okay.
It acknowledges that he was both fully God and fully human,
Right.
and that his human life would ultimately end.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. It adds this whole other layer of complexity to the gifts.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got gold kingship, frankincense divinity,
Mm-hmm.
and then myrrh representing his mortality.
His humanity.
And finally, Moore talks about risk-taking.
Yeah,
The Magi obviously risked a lot to find Jesus.
for sure.
But what kind of risks do we face today for our beliefs?
Well, I mean, it might not be as dramatic as deserts and bandits,
Right.
but standing up for what you believe in can still be risky.
Yeah.
Think about social pressure to conform. Maybe even making career choices that align with your values rather than just chasing money or status.
Yeah.
True faith often requires a certain level of courage.
That's so true. And, Moore ends with this really thought-provoking question.
Okay.
Are we still celebrating Jesus? He doesn't give us an answer.
No, he doesn't.
He leaves it for us to ponder.
He leaves us hanging.
What do you think he's getting at?
I think he's challenging us to look at our own lives and see if we're truly living out the values that Jesus represented.
So, what does that look like?
Well, are we seeking truth?
Yeah, okay.
Are we willing to stand up for what we believe in?
Yeah.
Are we offering our best selves in service to something bigger than ourselves?
So what does all this mean for you? We've explored the Magi's journey, the symbolism of their gifts. But Moore's real point is about how their story reflects on us.
The fascinating thing is this story goes beyond any specific religion.
Okay.
It's about the human desire for something more.
Yeah.
The courage to follow your convictions and the pursuit of truth no matter the cost.
And that's something that everyone can relate to.
Exactly.
Maybe the real gift the Magi gave us wasn't gold or frankincense, but their enduring example of faith and courage.
It's a powerful thought.
Something to think about, right?
Definitely.
All right, so you wanted to learn more about the wise men and how they connect to how we celebrate Jesus today, right?
Wow.
We dove into this piece by Apostle John Moore
Okay.
called Wise Men Still Celebrate Jesus. It's a
Yeah.
sermon,
Yeah,
and it really gets you thinking about like how people still celebrate Jesus today.
absolutely.
So let's see how he does that.
Yeah, let's jump in.